Have you ever had the feeling of being trapped without chains, like everything about you is being used against you? His affection, his empathy, even his guilt. You look at someone and feel like something is wrong, but there's no proof. There are no words, just a void, a discomfort, a doubt that eats you up inside. This is the territory of the emotional manipulator. He doesn't need to raise his voice. He doesn't need to threaten. He just needs you to keep questioning yourself while he feeds on your insecurity. Nietzsche understood this before any psychologist. He knew that where there is weakness, there is manipulation, and that the greatest cruelty does not come from those who scream, but from those who pretend to love, while molding you like clay. But today, that ends. This video is not about reacting, it's about dominating. About ripping off the manipulator's mask and looking into the eyes of the emptiness he carries. You will understand why they do this, how they operate, and most importantly, how to destroy them. Not with violence, but with presence, conscience, and silence. If you are ready to break the cycle of manipulation once and for all, Nietzsche will show you the way. The manipulator doesn't need to know you. He just needs to feel where you don't know yourself yet. He smells fragility, and it infiltrates the cracks that you yourself learn to ignore. He doesn't start by hurting you. He starts by understanding you. He watches, smiles, adapts, like a mirror, but a distorted mirror. You see yourself there, but something is wrong, and you don't know what. Nietzsche called this a weak perspective, the way the weak learn to survive, not with force, but with manipulation. They have no real power, so they become experts in illusion. And the illusion begins with the look. The emotional manipulator doesn't want to hurt you right away. He wants you to trust. May you surrender. He wants you to see him as a shelter, when in fact he is already building his prison. He learns your pains, your faults, your voids, and then it starts offering exactly what you want most, but not out of compassion, by calculation. He praises you when you doubt yourself the most. He supports you when everyone criticizes you. He approaches when you are weak. And you, in silence, begin to believe that you need him. This is the first poison. Nietzsche said that there are people who cannot bear the weight of their own existence, and therefore they feed on other people's energy. They are parasites of the soul, but they dress like angels. You start to depend on his presence, but every time you try to walk away, something hurts, as if cutting this bond would take away a piece of you. But here's the brutal truth. That's what hurts. It's not love. It's attachment to manipulation. It's your conscience fighting to wake up. The first step to destroying an emotional manipulator, it is to stop seeing goodness where there is only need. The look that unmasks is the one that sees without illusion. It's Nietzsche's look, cold, lucid, merciless, not out of malice, but out of protection. You must not react. You must observe, not angry, but clearly. Because when you see someone with total clarity, that person loses control. She has nowhere else to hide. If this is making sense, continue, because in the next chapter you will understand why they need to control you so much, and how it reveals the desperation behind the mask. Nietzsche was clear. Those who do not have dominion over themselves seek dominion over others. This is the essence of the emotional manipulator. He does not act out of conscious malice, but out of silent desperation, an absolute fear of facing one's own emptiness. He has no direction. It has no center. He has no inner strength, so he pretends, builds characters, creates emotional games, because that's the only way he can feel alive, putting you on your knees. But why? Because he feels like he's sinking, and by controlling you, by putting you in doubt, by making you suffer, he feels himself breathing for a few more seconds. Nietzsche called this resentment, the degenerate will to power. When the individual, unable to affirm his existence with courage, he starts destroying everything around him, so he doesn't feel so inferior. The emotional manipulator is resentful. He sees his freedom and hates it, see their empathy and envy, see its clarity and try to shuffle it. He doesn't want you to love him, he wants you to need him, because if you need it, so it exists, so he's worth something, so he is someone, but it is a vampiric existence. He just lives by sucking your value. And you give in, because you want to help, because you want to understand, because you still believe you can save him. But Nietzsche laughed at this, because he knew the weak do not want to be saved. He wants everyone to sink with him. The more you try to understand, the more you get tangled up, the more you try to heal, the more you bleed. The manipulator does not want healing, want control. He approaches with sweet promises, but what he wants is simple. Put invisible chains around your mind. Chains made of guilt, of pity, of obligation. And every time you try to leave, he gets hurt. He cries, he begs. But behind that, there is no real pain. There is calculation. Nietzsche invites us to a brutal choice. Or you become master of yourself, or he will be a servant of other people's needs, and the manipulator will always test this on you. He wants to know how far he can go, as far as you can handle it, to what extent you betray yourself for fear of hurting him. But every time you give in, you sink more, and he smiles inside. Do you want to get out of this? Stop responding, stop trying to justify, start looking to understand, dominating. The manipulator lives off your reaction. Take that away from him, and he collapses. If you're ready to see the next disguise, nothing is more dangerous than someone who acts fragile, to weaken you. The manipulator knows you have a blind spot, your compassion, your tendency to protect those who suffer, your desire to be fair, to be good, and that's why he doesn't present himself as an oppressor. He presents himself as injured. He tells tragic stories. He relives traumas in front of you. He bows down, is silent, cries, not because you feel, but because you know the effect it has on you. It's a theater, and you are the captive audience. Nietzsche warned us, the weak, when intelligent, become manipulative. He doesn't confront. He dramatizes. He doesn't argue. He accuses. And when you dare to react, he gets hurt, or pretend to hurt yourself, and you retreat. The game is this: leave you with the feeling that you are always the one who exaggerates, who is being cruel, who did not understand the pain of the other. But see, real pain does not manipulate. Real pain doesn't hold. Real pain doesn't blame you for existing. The emotional manipulator plays the role of victim because he knows it's the only way to keep you close, without needing to change. No need to grow up. It becomes fragile enough so that you feel like a monster every time you try to break free. This is not sensitivity, it's control. Nietzsche saw piety as one of the greatest dangers of the elevated soul, because pity, when misdirected, it doesn't heal the other and it weakens you. And that's exactly what happens. The more you feel sorry, the more you move away from yourself. You start to keep quiet so as not to hurt. Start accepting the unacceptable. Start living according to the suffering of others, as if it were your mission to carry pains that are not yours. But here's the key point. The real victim seeks to overcome. The manipulative victim seeks to imprison. She doesn't want help. She wants control. And the longer you stay, the more you become the villain of the story itself. Because this is how theater is written. The manipulator will always be the wounded hero. You, the cold and merciless aggressor. Nietzsche knew this. That's why he chose not to get involved with other people's dramas. He saw beyond the mask. He saw the power dynamics behind the tear. If you want to destroy a manipulator, you need to stop apologizing for seeing the truth. you need to get off the stage, close the curtain, and watch from afar the void struggle without an audience. If this hit you, wait until you understand the next game, how they use nihilism to erode your worth and keep you dependent. There is a more subtle and more lethal form of manipulation, the slow deconstruction of its value. The emotional manipulator doesn't start by attacking you, it starts by emptying you. It undermines your confidence, drop by drop. Nietzsche called this passive nihilism, a state in which life loses meaning, but you continue to exist like a ghost inside your own body. This is what the manipulator wants from you. Not obedience, but apathy. A state where you no longer trust your instincts. Not even in your strength, not even in your own vision of reality. It creates doubts. He questions everything that makes you solid. You say what you feel, he laughs. You make a decision, he criticizes it. You show strength, he responds with silence. Every little reaction is programmed. The objective is simple: make you believe that everything about you is exaggerated, wrong, insufficient. And when that happens, you start to look at yourself through his eyes. You begin to measure yourself by standards you created yourself. You diminish yourself, and you don't even realize it. Nietzsche said, "The man who loses the why of his existence surrenders to any how." And that's exactly what the handler offers, a how to survive, without ever having a why to live again. He gives you directions, advice, support, but only after breaking their autonomy, only after tearing out your voice. He wants you to feel like you couldn't do it without him, that he is the only one who understands you, that he is your anchor, but he's not an anchor. He is the hole that sucks you in, and you, emptied, start to be grateful for not sinking faster. This is the power of nihilism as a psychological weapon. It's not screaming, it's silence, it's not violence, it's corrosion. Nietzsche faced this head-on. He challenged all inherited values, torn the illusions, and he reconstructed, alone, his own meaning. This is what you need to do now. Stop seeking approval, stop expecting understanding, and start to reconnect with what is yours, your values, your will, your strength, because the manipulator only wins when you forget who you are, when you exchange identity for acceptance. But there is a way beyond this prison. Nietzsche called it the birth of Superman. Most people live reacting. They react to what they say. They react to what they think. They react to the fear of being misunderstood. They live on the defensive. They live justifying. They live begging for validation. The emotional manipulator feeds on this. He doesn't need to dominate you by force. He just needs to make you react. You explain yourself. It confuses you. You insist. He silences. You scream. He victimizes himself. And the cycle repeats itself. But Nietzsche proposed a total rupture. He didn't want a righteous man. He wanted an unattainable man. Superman. Not the hero, not the savior, but the individual who created himself, who rose above guilt, inherited morality, emotional blackmail. Superman doesn't bow. It is not justified. And above all, it doesn't react. He watches, he feels, but it doesn't move on impulse, because you know that every reaction is dependence. You still react to the manipulator because deep down you want something from him, approval, love, understanding. But Superman doesn't want to. He doesn't need to. He transcended lack. Nietzsche called this great health. An internal force so solid that nothing external can affect it. The emotional manipulator realizes this immediately. He feels when you've changed, when your words no longer reach you, when his presence no longer intoxicates you, when you stop trying to save the relationship and begins to save himself. And that's when he loses all control, because he doesn't know how to deal with the silence of those who woke up, with the coldness of someone who is not afraid of being misunderstood. With the firmness of someone who no longer responds to the script. Nietzsche understood this deeply. Real power is not displayed. It makes sense. It is the absence of need, the presence that imposes, the silent look. You don't need to beat the manipulator. You just need to let him talk to himself. And this is only possible when you stop living in his emotional field and begins to live in his own psychological field. Superman doesn't play the game. He changes the board. Are you ready to take this step? You don't destroy a handler with arguments, not even with screams, not even with proof, because every time you try to explain yourself, he already won. He dragged you back to the game. It made you believe that you still owe something, that there is still something to resolve. Mas Nietzsche sabía, some relationships should not be resolved. They must be cut. No warning, no drama, no turning back. The cold cut is the weapon of the awakened. Not because he hates it, but because he no longer needs the illusion. You try to save, you try to talk, you try to be fair, and the manipulator feeds on it, of your good intention, from your fear of appearing cruel. But what he fears, what destroys him, it is absolute silence. The total absence of your energy, when you don't respond anymore, when you don't hit back, when you don't send just one more message, when you disappear, not to provoke, but because you woke up. This is the moment when the manipulator falls apart. He feels the fall, the loss of control, breaking the cycle, and desperate, he returns with promises. He changes the tone. He says he understands that now it will be different, but it is not redemption, it's despair. Nietzsche would call this the last sigh of the weak will, an empty scream to try to keep the other in chains, not for love, but by dependence on power. Is cold cutting cruel? Yes, but no more cruel than continuing to give yourself over to those who suck you in, because every return, every retreat, every doubt, it's reinforcement to the handler that you're still trapped. Nietzsche teaches us that there are times when true self-love is choosing conscious selfishness. It's stopping donating to those who only know how to consume. It's withdrawing without warning, because what matters is already dead. There is no empathy in this gesture. There is lucidity. There is self-preservation. There is the brutal statement, I am no longer your food, and the manipulator feels it. He feels like you left. Not from the place, but from himself. You are no longer the same. You were reborn with another look, another presence, another strength. And that's where the reconstruction begins. But she's not fast, and not even visible. She is internal, silent, powerful. After the cut comes the void. Not a sad void, but a heavy silence. As if you were in the middle of ruins and could finally hear his own breathing. This is where many backtrack, because they confuse freedom with loneliness. But Nietzsche said, you have to be willing to burn in your own fire. How can you renew yourself without first becoming ashes? Reconstruction begins like this, not like an explosion, but like a whisper. You no longer seek revenge, not justice, no recognition. You seek silence, direction, self-mastery. The emotional manipulator can no longer reach you, because it only works in a specific type of environment, the environment of the needy, the guilty, the unstable. And you're not there anymore. You are becoming unapproachable, not out of coldness, but out of clarity. You know what it's worth, you know what you accept, know that your energy is sacred. Nietzsche called this state grand style. Live in a highway without needing applause. No need for an audience. Without needing anyone to validate your existence. This is where true strength is born, when you are no longer trying to prove anything to anyone, when your presence speaks for you, and the manipulator, when he looks at you, already feels that there is no longer any gap. You are no longer fertile soil for manipulation, Because now you cultivate your own will to power. You say no calmly. You walk away without drama. You impose presence without raising your voice. And most importantly, you don't try to save anyone anymore, because he understood that the only possible salvation, it's about yourself. What is born now is not just a new me, it is a heightened awareness, cold, strong and fair, inaccessible to blackmail, immune to theater, armored against weakness disguised as affection. Nietzsche didn't want you to be good, he wanted you to be whole. And now you are starting to be. If all this has touched you so far, then you are ready for the ultimate truth, the truth that closes this cycle, the conclusion. You've come this far, and that says it all, because only those who are ready to die reach the end. For the old me, the fragile one, the needy, the manipulable, Nietzsche offered no comfort, he offered an abyss. Because only in the face of the abyss do you see what you carry inside. And now you saw it. You saw that the manipulator is not strong, he is empty. You saw that the guilt you felt was not yours, it was a weapon. You saw that your reactions chained you, and that silence freed you. But most of all, you saw that you no longer need this game. That can come out, cut, rebuild. You will not destroy the manipulator in anger. It will destroy with absence, with a firm presence, with cutting lucidity. And in the end, he's not the one who matters. And you, who you are becoming, the rock that no one moves, the look that no one deceives, the soul that no one manipulates. Nietzsche called this the creation of the self, the masterpiece of will. And now, this work has begun, inside you, here, now. If this touched you, write in the comments, I refuse to be controlled. Show that you have woken up, show that you won't come back. And if you want to continue this journey, don't stop here. The next video is essential. Click now, because the transformation is just beginning.